Morning.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for coming on this morning with me. I'd love for you to share with me and everyone like who you are and your area of support and engagement with individuals. Yeah.
My name's Bobbi Vogel. My practice is etheric medicine, and I'm a medical intuitive, psychic medium, energy medicine practitioner. I'm working with, as more so in this year, lots and lots of kids, autism, brain cancer, different cancers, behavioral issues, anxiety, fear, you name it. And I'm just finding it fascinating what I'm learning.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where do you practice, or where do you see children?
I have a clinic in Garden Grove,
Okay.
and but I've always done Skype all over the world, or Zoom or FaceTime, but that's what I'm doing my sessions now with the same kids. It's via Skype every week, other kids. So also the other thing about it is that I usually work a lot of the times, at least the first time, I work through the parents of the kids. Even in my, when the clinic is open and we can, do hands-on, not all kids can lay still or be still or want to, that, right? In your practice, like you have to really, I don't even know how you do it. You have to be very crafty to get them to stay engaged or give an answer that's not,
Yeah. Well, that's the part that I value so much in the work I focus on, and even having you on to talk about this, just like the whole child and how to engage them. And my work always involves the body and movement, specifically that the nonverbal communication is how children are experiencing their world, how they're interacting, how they're holding emotions. And so by looking at the body, we can have a whole dialogue and a whole language together through the body and through movement. As the children experience their relationships and interactions and emotions, that there's this whole dance, this whole dialogue that goes back and forth in the body. And then I can support that relationship between a parent and child, or a child within themselves, to understand those triggers, understand what's happening in their body. And then ultimately take it into words. But certainly the body and movement is so essential. So I see movement as a way to access what's going on.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never heard of a child therapist doing that. That's your predominant clientele, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's interesting, because a lot of times, I've had a lot of nonverbal kids too,
Yes.
cerebral palsy or just other things, or kids that just don't want to talk.
Right.
And what's incredible is how, like, learning, which was mind-blowing, even with the autistic kids, they're actually so connected to their higher self, like their true self. And that true, I'm going to try to explain it as best as I can. That's it, spirit, right? Soul level. So the soul in this physical life, they have, let's call, autism. Let's use that as an example.
Right. Sure.
In this physical world, that's
what it looks like. That's what it's called. Right.
But they come back and forth, and in their highest, when they go back into their higher self, they communicate on a completely brilliant,
really
insightful level. It is so fascinating. I mean, the first time I was like, oh my God, like, and answer they can answer the questions from that place and interact from that place. I even had a child, an autistic child, who he was doing what he does. He was climbing all over everything and needing to bring all the pillows in the room from the other room. And
yes.
And I was just sitting there letting him do it. And his mom was all nervous that he was not participating. And I was like, no, it's fine. He's talking.
Absolutely. It's all communication. Yes.
Yeah, he's talking. you're not hearing it, but because he's asking that I don't share it.
Right.
And
That's making me think about the idea of health being integration, about the organization of all these different parts, and whether it's even as you're talking, like being present in this body, in this diagnosis, or in this set of criteria that it looks like, and then this higher being. Is it possible that it's about them working to organize that, like what part they should follow or listen to? Does that make sense at all?
Interesting question. Yeah, well, so I'm going to keep rolling with this one child because
Absolutely.
That child was saying to me, the most helpful thing for him would be that his family, his mother and teachers stop treating him like he has a problem, because to him, he doesn't.
Right.
And so he's like, just leave me alone. They were, and I don't know, but for this particular child, he didn't want to go to a chiropractor. It scared him. He dreaded it. It made him anxious. And anything, this because you're talking about body movement, any kind of anxiety in anyone's body, child or not, anxiety literally shuts everything down.
Right.
Nothing can flow, nothing, you can't heal for sure. But like for these kids, for him, he absolutely he thought because I had a table that I was going to do something to his
adjustment. Head. Yes.
And so I had to, and so it was the first time, that started making the mom cry, because she was like, oh my God, I had, she's trying everything.
Right. It's always these great intentions. Absolutely.
Everything, like everything to try to help her child. And half the stuff that she was doing scared him, or he didn't like, but he felt forced and he felt like he didn't have choice.
Well, it's such a great opportunity to touch upon. I often look at this as timing. And so it's the right thing of really following that child's need, and you giving this child a space to say, hey, can I first be accepted and kind of have my space? And then that might lead to something else later. But certainly in that moment to really hear, I love that analogy, the bringing in of the pillows, like kind of making that, I call it the castle walls, building the barrier of saying, hey, I need some protection here. What a beautiful use of pillows, right? All things to choose, pillows are a great choice.
Nice. I see. That's the stuff I didn't know. That's beautiful, because I was just like, well, right. And he was walking back and forth like it was a moat or something.
Yes.
And then I was able to get him to lay down. I said, can you give me just 1 minute? Because what I do is I send light, and because we're light bodies, so
I want to hear more about this, like what a parent hears, how you explain what you're doing to, or with the family, or with the child.
The thing is, what's so fascinating is whether or not the parents are like, they might be at the point of like, God, nothing else is helping, I'm going to go to this medical intuitive energy person.
Yes.
And so I just say to them, look, what I do is I'm going to calm down his electrical system.
Amazing.
And I'm going to, is it okay? And I say, is it okay if I put my hand on you? Because and then I just breathe in light and send it through.
Yes.
And when the parent sees their child who can never sit still go,
oh, yes, totally.
Like,
yes, yeah, you can feel it in the room.
They're usually all over the place. And then with this little guy, is like I took my hand away and he took it and he put it back.
Oh, and what a beautiful relief. Yes.
I'll have my hand here for as long as you lay here. And I'll just keep sending light through. Can you take some breaths for me? And it's incredible. And just by resetting that's what part of what I do is like
Absolutely.
resetting, because I'm able to see. It's, you know, one of the gifts that I'm so like astounded by is that I can actually see meridians
Yes.
in the energy body, etheric body. I can see dehydration, and most people don't drink enough water. Anybody?
I'm a blame. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's important is these kids or adults. We're talking about kids right now.
Yeah.
Anybody, anyone with any level of anxiety, doesn't matter what level it is, but if it's high level anxiety like these kids have, especially kids that can't talk, can you imagine like having all these emotions, feelings, experiences, and not being able to talk about it? Like,
Right.
you know, the level of anxiety that creates. So I feel what I'm learning, and I know I'm jumping off it, but I'm guided here to share this, is so much of, you know, so much of the anxiety and the behavior, what I'm understanding in my work is that it is the anxiety that parents don't think, oh, that, you know, kids, that's for adults to have, or they're so focused on the diagnosis that what they don't realize is that the underlying anxiety is running the whole show. And if you can manage their anxiety, you're going to see a lot of changes.
Yeah. I think I know it's so important, especially during this time, this pandemic, that I know our medical system's really looking for that, you know, the vaccine and the cure to all this. And there's a lot of importance in this. And at the same time, the anxiety, the mental health, the energetic health is so critical. And I was so blessed to have you on to talk with me, because I do want people to hear, especially for our children, while they might look healthy right now.
Yeah.
On one side, there's, you know, a lot of health going on in our children. And then there's also this other side of kids that aren't feeling as healthy. But also just that, like you're saying, that underlying anxiety in the dehydration, like the lack of flow that might be happening.
Sure. Well, anxiety stops the flow because it comes from, you know,
What does it look like to you?
It's quivering.
Quivering.
Yeah. And so, and it starts here, right? With our flow here. But we can pull from the earth. And I have, you know, I think you might have seen on my Instagram, I teach, you know, it's 8 minutes of pulling in the light and pulling it, or, you know, the feminine from the earth and the masculine, beautiful God energy from the sky, who's non-denominational. But so this is, I see it like this. And when it's quivering, it's not flowing. And you see that a lot, you know, and then it gets stuck here.
Yes. Yes.
And then they can't use their voice anyway. And, you know, adult women are the same. It's like, you know, it stops here, and then we can't use our voice or speak our truth. Same with kids. Right. Kids are just, they're brilliant, brilliant beings in little bodies.
Yes.
But the other thing about it is, oh, so you asked me what it looks like. So it's quivering. So what I do, and then when it's quivering, all the meridians look like blue balls to me. It's always, and then I can see submeridians. Like, I was taught this when I was working with an acupuncturist. I was like, are you kidding me? I can see meridian, like, so I can relight them.
It's amazing.
It's like turning the lights back on, so that, and then pulling the flow, resetting everything, getting all the things on, and then everything's, you have a chance, you know, and then everything changes.
Yes. Yes. When you talk, I can visualize it in the child. I think it's so beautiful, this concept of like turning on pieces and activating what's already even there. That's just, you know, I love this idea of, it's not that it's not there and you're putting it on them. You're actually turning it on because it's already there.
It's already there. Everything.
That's so important.
Yeah, but everything we need is already here.
Right.
We don't need, what we need to take care of what's already here and stop going out, getting exterior things and putting it in here.
Right. Right.
Chemicals, you know, prescriptions, unless it's absolutely necessary and temporary.
Yes.
Right. That's what I know.
Moderation. Yeah.
moderation, you're talking about, vaccinations. Is like, you put vaccinate, and I'm probably going to get in huge trouble for this, but like, but what I know from my work and from the energy body and the physical, because the energy body came first. It's scientifically proven. It's Einsteinian medicine. So you can cut a leaf in half and you're going to still see the outline of the whole leaf. It's etheric body. We have the same thing, but we have to be in a physical body to be here on the earth plane. We can't, So everything comes in the etheric energy body first. Traumas, emotions, like especially for empaths, it's really like that. And once it comes in, whatever it is, if it's emotional, physical trauma, or this or that, it's in the energy body, etheric body.
Yes.
And if we don't first clear and make sure our lights are on and we're breathing in light, because we need light as much as we need oxygen. Oxygen's for the physical body. Amazing. We need light for the energy body. We are light bodies. And so if you want to think about it as like wherever light cannot exist, darkness cannot exist where light is. It's impossible. Right? So you bring in the light to move your density and the stagnation in your energy body. We have to move it through and move it out. It's vital, because when it stagnates, right where it stagnates and it stays there and it turns to density then duplicates into the physical body, and now we have an illness.
Right. We have that congestion, that restriction.
Yeah, and then it's called cancer. It's called whatever, autoimmune. For me, I understand autoimmune is directly related to anxiety because of the stagnation that starts in the body, and then nobody understands because nobody pays attention to, I have an energy body. Oh, come on, that California, Yahoo crap.
At the beginning, I used to get revved up when I would feel like a crusader trying to fight for this idea of the body and movement as psychology, as a science, as like a real thing. And we used to say like, this fluff is stuff, like it's real, like it exists. And now it's fascinating to see how many books and information's out there of like the quantum physics, and how the closer we get to science, the closer we get to energy. It's all the same. Yep. And then it shouldn't have to put validity on the work, but it does shed that light on like, this is the truth.
And I always say in every podcast I'm on, I say, whether you believe it's the truth or not, it is. Right. So why not lean in? Just like, our spirit guides who are here with us, they're here with your kids. Your kids came in with it,
How would you, if this is okay to ask, like, is there a way to lean in for parents or children at home? Like, is it a presence? Is it finding something else? I don't know. I don't want to speak.
Yeah. What would you say? So, yeah, that's great. I think so. What I would love to say to parents, and I think you already know maybe, but
and practitioners,
you lean in more on it to teach the parents whatever you need to do. But like, kids are brilliant and they're so connected, and half the time they know their guides are here. Half the time they're talking to them because you can. I did what I do all day long, is like talk to other people's spirit guides, and, God jumps in and whatever. But like, kids come in with their own spirit guides, with their own life purpose, with their own life mission, with their own wounds. Kids come in with unhealed wounds, just like we did. And it's true. It's the work that I do. And so if we can recognize them somehow also as like, okay, I'm their parent, in this lifetime. I agreed to be this soul's parent, right? And that's what's happening on this time, right? But to continue to recognize they are a high vibrating, brilliant soul in that little body. Recognize that their opinions, their needs, and the fact that they're so connected, support that connection.
Right.
Support it, because man, we need it. So what I'm doing mainly in my practice is teaching people to find their way back to faith or get in faith, so that they can faith that they're divinely guided and connected, so that they can heal as adults the wounds that it's possible to heal as kids.
Sure.
So if we can get them started sooner and recognize, oh, they're here on their own journey.
Right.
And it might look completely different than what you have in mind for them. It's not our right as parents to choose a kid's life purpose. It's not our right.
Right. There's so much, it gives, when you say that, it gives permission of that awe, that like awe that comes in, and the reverence of just being present with your child, and you get to take a breath. you get to kind of, not sit back in the like dismissive way, but sit back and just be in awe of that they are kind of leading us. They can show us so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So much. I mean, we could probably if we just look at like that and like, wow, you'll be able to like kind of see their, like, where is that choice coming from? Because like I have a friend of mine who's the CEO of Holly Blue Nurses. So it's a big hype this week. Her son, and it's fine because he's done a testimony. He's only 8 years old. And he already is like, he has mediumship stuff happening for him.
Amazing.
And he's so sensitive. So the first time I did a session with him, we're friends now. We were connected through Tracy. He was scared of everything. He had anxiety and like, separation anxiety, and he was a mess that something was going to happen to his mom, or, and really like debilitating.
Yeah.
And they asked me, can you come do a session? So I went to their home. This is before the pandemic. And what I learned, he was communicating with me outside because he was so shy. So we were going back and forth, and I was like, wow, I was able to actually see a past life of this kid, and he's so powerful. Yes. At 8, this little shy kid that's a mess.
Yes.
So powerful that he landed here with such a mission, and with all these tools already turned on,
Yes.
That he's like, woo!
How do I be?
And how does he communicate without sounding crazy? Hey, I'm hanging out with grandpa, or I'm hanging out with so-and-so. Because most people are like, no, we shut it down because we don't believe it. It's the truth though. And so sometimes his mom will call and say, Hudson couldn't sleep in his room last night because he said this mean dog came in his room and and it wanted to get on his bed and all this other stuff. Is that, is it possible, to check in on that or whatever? Sure enough, some dog that was, I tuned in, and the dog told me the story about his life at some point, not just the previous owners, but some owners, they were not nice to the dog.
Right.
The dog had to sleep outside all the time, and he was used to being mistreated.
That's
so he,
amazing.
Came across like
here.
like he was mean, like other mistreated people.
Right.
And he just wanted to sleep on the bed.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And so this beautiful kid, right, then he was worried about the dog, and if he didn't come back, why isn't he, but now he's just like, oh, he felt better. He just needed that one time.
Yeah. I think that working with families, there's this it's a tricky line of kind of how to lean in, when to pull back.
Yeah.
And I often talk about when you were just talking about this, like of the child having this experience, right? And really honoring it as like, this is when the parents got permission from you that like it was happening. It gives that acceptance. The other part that I hear is that I use this word of saying it's like looking at the subtitles. Like if the child's speaking another language, but like underneath, it's kind of like, what's the emotions? What's the, for our conversation, I'll say like, what's the energy? Like what's the meaning underneath it? So like, it doesn't necessarily matter all the words that are said, if it's a dog, if it's a cat, if it's what is coming to them, but like, what does that child need? And then what I think I hear you're offering, in addition to just having this ability to connect to the light, is the subtitles of this child was heard and had a way of connecting these experiences in the here and now, and then kind of what to do with it.
That's really cool.
That's
I mean, I love hearing that you're doing that in your work, or that you're that, like, that subtitle thing is very, very cool, because that's something that you recognize. Because when you said that, what I heard was like, you know, that's almost like the submeridians, right? That's what they were showing me, is like, you're talking about, because of the work you do, that, you know, so the subtitles, so here's the meridians. The main, what I've learned, are the classic meridians, the classic acupuncture points, and the submeridians are the less used, unfortunately, because it seems almost like the submeridians really target, I don't know why they wanted me to say it, but they target like injury and how illness actually more than the classic. And that's a strong statement. But so the meridians, your subtitles, are more like, here's what the kid, for instance, feels like they have to say, what's acceptable to say.
Right. With the anxiety, with everything.
They really, and this is their higher vibrate, this is their higher intelligence, is below. It's like, here's,
right,
I'm going to say what's safe and acceptable, but here's how I really feel.
Right.
And that's what's more powerful.
Yeah.
Which is something that's what I want to ask you, is like, man, hone in on that and start honing in on your own, like continue with your own intuition. That's a powerful way to work with them, is like, well, just ask spirit, ask their guides or your guides. What are they, what's the submeridians there? What's the subtext?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of the surface.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the body is such this vessel that's like, even if the words are saying I feel good, the body's maybe showing something so differently. So to me, it's very loud and clear. Yeah. I don't know if you wanted to share, is there a starting place of when you came to learn this?
Oh boy.
Is that that's like probably a long conversation, but I get so excited. I'm like, I want to know everything.
You know, I love hearing that, because I just like 4 days ago started writing a book.
Okay. Congratulations.
But long story short, I mean, so I'm adopted, right? And then I have all this hard stuff in there. And then, which is I'm empowered by. I always say it's not a life of pain, it's a life of purpose, because everything we experience,
it's beautiful,
is I know is, you know, and it's a lot more to say, but you know, we choose our wounds, we choose our experiences before we come in, and the more painful experiences you have in human form, to me, what I know is like, it just proves what a badass you are. Because if you filled your basket with challenging stuff, you're a badass. Like, and that I know that to be true, not just in my own life, but in other people, all the journeys I see every single day. I see trauma. I'm witness to, you know, traumas and people when they were little, you know, all that stuff. And then I'm also witness to them choosing before God and their guides the wounds, because they're like, hey, because when we heal our wounds, we transcend, our soul transcends.
Wow.
So anyway, for me, I know I filled my basket and I was like, let's roll, you know. We forget that when we come into the human mind. But now I'm just like, wow, that was powerful, because I understand every single experience and wound that was created was all like a teaching for me, for my life purpose.
Right.
Because now there's nothing that somebody can come to me with that I don't understand,
Yes.
that I've not, made it through. So if I can make it, anyone can. And here I am standing in a life purpose. I was like, what? I mean, I was a real estate agent for 18 years and a paramedic and a pre-med, and, I've had a million lives. But so I found myself homeless, long, short, 5.5 years ago only. I was, like I said, top producing realtor, Bay Area. I adopted a little boy when he was 1, who's now 18, from San Francisco County, who, because of his birth circumstances, didn't stand a chance, but me and the ex-paramedic was like, I can do it. Love will make all the difference, but like I said, sometimes your kids are on their own journey with their own wounds, and sometimes it's just that way. But anyway, he was in a high care facility in the Bay Area. I transferred him down to Southern California with me, and they kicked him out of the facility because San Francisco wouldn't pay, and he was not ready for that. And I ended up not being able to work. Long story short, I lost everything, including him. He went to juvie, and I had to turn my Mercedes-Benz in at the Ross parking lot in Venice Beach. I put the keys in, took my plates off. They took the car back, sheriff sticker on the door, like unimaginable. No family. Both my parents have passed away, in a new place, away from, just there's a lot of little things that happen in there, but I was stripped of everything but faith. Everything. And I was ready to tap out. And when I started just saying, why, what did I do? I thought that I was a bad person.
Of course. Yes.
I thought, oh my God, what did I do?
You're needing some explanation.
Yeah, I'm this bad, like that. This is my circumstance. But see, that's a victim place to come from. And when I understand how disempowering that is, to feel like I have no choice in this, I am powerless because I am a victim.
Right.
But when I started just like, God help me, God help me, God help me, and some healers would show up, which I know I'm one of now, which is astounding because they saved my life. And one thing led to another, but it was being connected to such a deep faith that I was rolling with my peeps, my guides, God, my parents, who could now be, especially my mom, like she's always right here. It's like she couldn't be that power in my life when she was on the planet, but she is now. I rely on my mom as much as my guides every day. And I was led through and to standing here. Like somebody said, hey, it's time for you to find a teacher and get really, really connected now, not just to your own guidance, but you're meant to be in service to other people with these gifts that you have, that you're so divinely connected and so clearly communicated with. And that's where it started. I mean, that's how it started. And then I just listened. I just kept listening because I kept saying, God guide me every day. God guide me. God guide me. I didn't need to know where I was going. I just needed to trust and have faith that I was being guided. And it changed my whole life. It led me into healing, from faith to healing to life to purpose. And that's why my platform is like redefining faith, healing, life, and purpose, because I already walked through that.
You've seen it. You've been there. Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me it's not possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Short version.
Yeah. Totally.
So
I can't wait to read more. It's so important to be able to, I kind of keep circling back to this time period right now, and just that it can feel so that's the gesture I have. It can feel scary. It can feel so stagnant, like we're just stuck. And then you hear a story like your own, and you're able to see that stuckness was actually, I don't, if this is okay to say, it was a gift, and it also wasn't necessarily ever stagnant. There was always something in motion, and you were able to keep moving through it. I can't imagine what that was like, right? But you did. In telling it to me, you're telling me that it was moving. Something was moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, actually, another truth is the subtext is, I've never done hallucinogens or anything. Like not in a million. I always say I didn't have the luxury of being, like that, because I always had to like survive and figure out how I'm going to live. Right. But one of the healers led me to ayahuasca, and I didn't even know what it was. And I said, all right, and I heard, oh, it's the spirit of a grandmother. Right.
Right.
I went into it and I was like, whatever it is stuck in my body, in my energy, whatever wounds are stuck in my energy about anything. And I didn't even know yet what I was going to do, but whatever's in here, get it out. Like, let's roll, take me down.
Right.
And during that, I'm going to talk about that because it was so profound in my book, more detailed, but all these amazing things happened, hard things, but I was able to take my power back and change the whole dialogue.
Right.
Because
that intention.
Yeah. Ayahuasca, scientifically, it breaks the trauma synapse. Yeah. And there's an opportunity to then create a healthy synapse, so we don't keep recreating it.
Opening of the mind. Yes.
Yeah. And I came out of after 8 hours, I'm like fairly lucid or whatever. And I'm sitting there staring at my hands after all these incredible experiences and knowings and like power. Like, I just felt incredible. I was looking at my hands and the sun was coming up in Ojai. And I just was like communing with my peeps. And this is before I knew I had a gift. But I was literally hanging out with them. I have had a tattoo on my arm for years that calling these my peeps. I just never knew who they were, what that meaning really was.
Yes.
But I'm talking back and forth. I'm looking at my hands, and as one of the shaman comes and sits next to me, and I was like, "Are these my hands?" And he's like, "Yep." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yep." And I said, "So I'm alive?" And he said, "Yeah, you are." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Good question."
Yes.
And that was the beginning. To me, that was the day I was like, why am I alive? What am I here for? Because it's something real powerful. If I made it through all that crap I just re-witnessed.
Yes.
I'm here like I'm a warrior. So it was profound. And from that, it's just like whoosh,
Well, it's so beautiful to just be able to see all that. And I love, even just as you said before, that idea of coming back to, if you can get through it, then that you are able to have that relatability with anyone, children, the family, and I see I hear and feel so much of a freedom of like this authentic you, which is so important in these therapeutic relationships that isn't necessarily maybe it is where our medical system came from, or that the healing systems came from, but for so long there is this disconnect of like how to be really present with an individual. And I think that's the key to the therapeutic relationship, and even the parent relationship, of coming to the table and saying, this is me, not having to try to be something else I don't even know how to do that.
You
I
know?
don't either.
I have no idea how to not be authentic. And I truly mean that, you
Yeah.
know, and it's not for everybody, you know, that's for sure. You know, there's people that, you know, people love you, don't, whatever, can take it. Not because a lot of people can't take authenticity either because of their own wounds, right? It's uncomfortable. But I know, thank you for that. And I see the same in you, which is really powerful because I feel like,
Appreciate that.
yeah, because I feel like that they keep spirit. I just have to say this because it's so powerful, which is, and because, you know, because you show up with your authenticity, so people don't need to get to that, you know, get through that with you first. But how important, I guess maybe that is authenticity, but how important it is working with people, whether they're kids or adults, to try to get to that subtext or the lower. And I always say to people, because the rest, you know, we need to be courageous enough if we want healing to speak, to get down in there. And in my work, and it sounds like with your work, I always say to people in the beginning of session, if spirit tells me to, don't give a stock answer, because spirit will have me, you know, they give me the questions, it's their agenda. I'm just like, you know, the go-between.
Yes.
So I'm like, hey, I didn't say it.
Right.
You know, and they did, don't shoot the messenger. But because spirit will ask questions they already have the answer to. They've been with you since you came in here. They've been through they've witnessed every thing, every emotion, every incident, everything on our behalf. They're holding all that for us. They said they would, and they're doing it. So why not depend on them? So when they're asking someone, whether it's a child or a big person, because a lot of people are still children, a lot of adults are still children.
I love that. Yeah.
So with experiences they don't remember, they're unconscious, they can't talk about it in therapy because they don't remember it. And but spirit's like, oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Here's the memory. You know, sometimes it's possible they have to do it, but they'll say, please don't give a stock answer, because it's like the visual that they give is like, hey, they got you, right? You're safely like strapped in on the rope, you know, that you go down the mountain or into the hole with whatever, and they're gently lowering you question by question into the wound. Do you want to know what it is or not? Do you want to heal it? Do you want to release it? Do you want to transcend higher? Because that's what's going to happen. So don't give me a stock answer. Don't give us a stock answer that you give it every time someone asks you, this is the answer you give them. What's the real answer?
Yeah. What does that do for you? What
What's
do those
the
words
subtext?
mean? Right.
So that's why it's like your thought around that is really brilliant and insightful and intuitive, because you're asking them.
Right. Well, and all the work, just, I'll just say this last bit, but I always feel such a blessing to be able to know that I can go into a room and I don't have a preset agenda of what the session or what the child has to do. And just being in that space with them and giving them acceptance of, this is where we are and we'll see how it's going to look and what happens. That's, to me, such an honor, because I mean, it's like play. It's like, when do you get to just go in and not have to, it sounds, you know, whimsical. It's like you're not preparing anything, but it is, I'm prepared with what to do with it. But just that ability to just see what is so different than coming in and saying, you have to do it like this.
Right.
And then what's so amazing is the reason why I keep doing what I do, and it sounds like what you have been called to do, is that the proof, if someone needs proof, is in the children. Like, I can't make up the stuff that they show me and what they bring to session and what they do with their bodies. And so, you know, if a parent's saying, whether it's during this COVID time on the screen and there's this expectation of like, make eye contact, sit in front of the screen, or even in my office, if the child's not like sitting and responding.
Yeah, they're gonna be like this.
To me, I'm like, they are totally telling me everything they need to tell me. And they'll be, you know, crawling underneath furniture or curling into a ball or flipping upside down as we're engaging. And I'll look at it and say, yeah, it feels a bit like we're all flipped upside down today.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit like whatever it looks like, or the child's moving around like you gave in your example. And they bring it.
Trying to crawl out of their skin. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they don't have to do anything on my agenda.
Yeah, that's so cool. Like what a gift you have. And what, you know, what I'm hearing is, you know, whether they just want to say is, you know, they as in your peeps is like, start really, you know, trust what's coming through, because you're divinely guided. And like before a kid, you see one of these kids, or even in your own life, but like just say, hey, how can I help, you know, Jimmy, guys?
That makes me like tear up. Yeah.
That's what they want us to do. Like I say that every, you know, who can I help and how can I help them? That's all I care about.
That's what we can be saying every moment of our days, even as parents. What can I do?
How can I help?
How can I be here with you? How can I
help? What, you know, but a lot of times, see, and they're saying this because a lot of times we don't know what we need. You know, like even a kid doesn't know exactly, because they're in their kid body brain, but they'll, you know, go back and forth. So that's what they're asking, is more leaning in on, like, ask spirit before every session, how can I help this child? Give the name, use the name, and then just, you don't have to wait for the answer will come.
Yeah, absolutely.
The guidance, they're right there with you.
Right.
Always.
I love that. It gives permission to slow down. If it means slowing down, I'm sure
does,
sometimes it's speeding up,
listen.
but slowing down. Yeah.
Listen and trust and just like roll. You might be like, say what now? Like, hey,
Yeah.
I hear some of the stuff I say and I'm like, seriously, you know?
I love it.
And it's so profound.
Yes.
The truth is way simpler than we allow it to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for the work you're doing.
When can I see you next?
Yeah, I'm me. Yeah, I'm around.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I mean, there's so much to learn.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we'll be in touch. And where can people find you, or how do people?
Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm Bobbi Vogel, BOBBIVOGEL.etheric medicine, ETHERIC medicine. But my website is same, BobbiVogel.com.
Okay.
And then a ton. I also have a YouTube, and on YouTube I have a ton of like great videos of, you know, showing, like, teaching things or talking about things like life purpose and, you know, all the things that we're talking about. And the podcast, like I was just on Maria Menounos
wonderful
almost 2 weeks ago, and Montel Williams, and so all that stuff's on there. So
I'm so excited that this is being talked about and sharing, and I can't wait to share with my community, and I know it's so important.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.